Angie McMahon is an Australian musician who is an honest songwriter with a big, bold voice. And she's playing her first South by Southwest showcases this week. And I'm honored to have her right now with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know the phrase in music, that kind of jokey phrase, oh, we're really big in Japan?
Yeah.
Well, you are, in fact, huge.
In Japan.
Are you?
No.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, you're huge in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, where lots and lots of people know you, but you're here sort of introducing yourself for the first time. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
To the United States audiences. What's that been like so far?
It's been really nice, actually. Well, we've played one show and there were people there, which was like a really good start, because I wasn't sure if the only gauge you have of how the show is going to go is like internet, like Twitter and stuff beforehand. And I sort of tried to keep the pressure off and just like, you know, we'll rock up and play a gig. There might be 5 people there, and there was like a crowd, so that felt like a good start. And every interaction has been really nice. All the omens have been good. There's like really nice dogs everywhere, and I feel like they're good omens. So
Yeah, I know.
it's been really nice, like entry into the place. I think I've been told that South by Southwest is a bit like manic, and I was kind of scared of being overwhelmed. But so far,
There's a lot happening
there's
here.
a lot happening, but I've taken some hotel room time as well, so I'm just
That's
trying
good.
to
Me time,
balance.
me
Yeah.
time, personal time is good. Has it been refreshing to play to that smaller group of people after
Yeah.
playing for thousands?
Yeah, it's been nice. Like Australia, sometimes the shows can feel a bit. I mean, they're always lovely, but like they can feel a bit more pressured, even because there's more people, or you're higher up on a bill, or like you know, you've sold more tickets or whatever. But over here, it's just like, yeah, I think it feels a little bit more like what me and the boys in my band maybe are used to, maybe more in our element. Like we played in Nashville last week at a place called the Basement East, which was probably 100, 200 cap room. I think there's 100 people in there, and like music posters all over the roof, and like a dingy, awesome music venue, bar, underground kind of feeling. And that's what we're used to,
Sure.
having played in Melbourne, like coming up and doing years of those sorts of venues, so it feels much more like home.
I want to hear about Melbourne, because I've always heard the phrase about music venues: the lower the ceiling, the higher the intensity of the musical experience.
Someone said that to me the other day. I've never thought about it, but I think it's probably true.
What? So I sort of think of you as an ambassador from the current Melbourne music scene. Considering that I've never been there, I was curious to know what about Melbourne and what about Oz has been imbued in you that you don't see in other artists.
I mean, I haven't really compared it to other artists from other places, but I think I've always felt really grateful for what we have in Melbourne, which to me just feels like a really strong, like thriving music community. It feels like there's a lot of bands being formed all the time. There's a lot of people breaking off and doing their solo projects and their weird projects, and actually having support for that, and like feeling like they can be creative and do interesting things, and feeling like people actually want to hear your songs, whether they're your friends or just random people. The venues have, you know, there's people going through them, and there's other cities in Australia, like in Sydney at the moment, they're having a lot of issues with laws about music venues, and a lot of music venues are shutting down because of sound complaints, and Melbourne doesn't have that. Like, we have thriving venues, and we're really becoming aware of how, you know, like lucky we are. And yeah, I'm just grateful for the way I was able to come up writing songs and feeling like I had safe spaces to play them in. I worked in like a small music venue bar, like a living room sized bar for a couple of years, and I played a lot of my songs that I'm playing now. I would like test them out in that room.
So you like worked the front door, or worked behind the bar?
Bartender, yeah.
Oh, you were a bartender?
Yeah, we didn't really have like a front door person. It was like we had like 2 or 3 staff on a night, and we would also do the sound for the gigs, and there's a gig every night. And then after working there as a bartender, you get to a point in like hospitality where you get real grumpy with the whole process. And
Sure.
So, like 2 years in, then Jez, who was the owner, who was booking all the gigs, he became really busy managing a band who were doing really well. So then he gave me the gig booking job. So then I was booking the gigs and kind of doing that on the road as this thing started picking up. And then after a while, I was like, the email inbox was too full, and I was letting things slide, and I was like, I should hand this job along.
Did you book yourself though?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I love these origin stories. I remember, Beirut, I don't know if you know that artist or not.
Yeah.
He grew up basically in a movie theater. It's these are wonderful stories. You are known for having a big voice, and I should point out that this guitar that's here on set right now is it's not just for show. She is going to be playing a little bit, so make sure you stay tuned. But you're known for having a big voice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of people know that you were also the vocalist in, I want to say, a 9-piece soul band called The Fabric.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like you might be a soul singer first.
Kind of. Well, I think I always wanted to get my voice to that place, but I was doing, first I was like piano ballady, kind of gentle covers. Like that's how I sort of started.
Were you a YouTube cover person?
Yeah. I've recently had to go and hide all of the videos. My first music industry success was a piano cover of Titanium by Sia, which it got to like 300,000 views when I was like 16, and I was just like, I don't know what to do with all this fame. I'm famous.
You were a YouTuber.
Yeah, I was, but like I loved playing pop covers, and then acoustic guitar, and it was always like sort of folky. I guess it was folkier than maybe what I can do now, because then I started singing with these boys and I had to be louder.
Louder than the band,
Yeah.
right? There's all these horns and all these
Yeah.
other instruments, and you can actually listen to The Fabric online.
We did an EP and a couple of singles online. Yeah.
So it's really interesting to me, technically, to learn about how you translate that big voice that you learned how to sort of master and squeeze it into, a singer-songwriter, or just a person in the guitar, or just a guitar and maybe 3 other instruments.
Well, I don't think I've mastered it. My technique is actually horrible, but it's I think it actually does have to do with the guitar. Like the sound from this guitar I really love, because it's quite gritty and warm, and it is the same model that the guitarist in The Fabric had. So he lent me his guitar at one point, and I loved it. I started writing songs on it, and it felt like I did have an electric before that. I had like a Strat, but it never really spoke to me. And then I had this, like this spiritual connection with the guitar sound, and so I bought my own one. And then from that, I felt like I was writing maybe rockier songs, and I was singing louder than I had ever with the keyboard or with an acoustic. And then I wanted my own band. But I still wanted to be able to have a lot of space, and I love so many different types of music, and I wanted to be able to have really spacious moments. And rock moments. So we're a 3-piece. So I have the bass player and my drummer, and they're really lovely. But it's also easier to feel like I'm in control, I guess, than it ever was with like 8 boys and horns behind me.
You can imagine it's managed chaos. Yeah. So you're not an overnight success. An example is Maggie Rogers in the United States. Everyone thinks that she just kind of ended up on Saturday Night Live, and because she met Pharrell not that long ago, but she's been, in the lab for a long time and really honing her craft. Yeah. So have you. You won a big contest in 2013, and you toured with Bon Jovi, and I didn't even know you had these YouTube videos that had hundreds of thousands of views. But it's 2019. What is the daily music hustle look like for a young up-and-coming artist these days?
Like for me at the minute, it looks like some gentle panic attacks and deep breathing. But that's the touring side of it is quite new for me. Like that's been the last year, is touring a lot and making an album and like navigating the industry and stuff. But before that, I was really trying to write the best songs that I could, and figure out how to like manage my own voice. Like I don't just mean singing, but also just like artistically, and figure out what I wanted to say and how I was gonna like hold on to my identity, which I'm still figuring out. But the Bon Jovi contest was years ago, and I think when that happened, it was like a little bit of a launch, but I wasn't quite ready to like sing the songs that I didn't really like the songs that I'd written, and I always felt like I could do better, so I just like retreated back and did a bit more work and thinking and growing up and stuff, because I was 19 when that happened. I'd just finished school, and then a few years down the track I was sort of started entering competitions again, and like writing grant applications and trying to figure out how I was going to release things, and I just felt I needed like the time to be more confident. And I'm like, I'm glad that I took that.
Well, so you're talking about finding your voice and working on your craft. You have advantages today for connecting to your audience that people just 5 years ago, artists didn't have.
Yeah.
You know, for example, social media, right?
Yeah.
Directly, I think you may have maybe posted something about this right before we started.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be part of this hustle, something that you also have to kind of keep juggling and be authentic, but also not let it take over?
Yeah, totally. And it's particularly being on the road, it can be even quite addictive, like it is for anyone to just like sort of scroll, and if you got like nice messages coming in, then you kind of just want to read the messages all the time, and then I find I've been staring at my phone for hours, and so you can be engaged with it 24/7 if you don't stop yourself. But also like the internet is like probably a huge part of the reason that I'm even in America, you know, because like from Australia to get here is a lot of like the label that I've just signed with, I think Alyssa from that label found my music on some internet, some form of streaming, and so I'm really grateful for it, but at the same time I find it super overwhelming, and like I am so grateful for the people who are supportive on Instagram and stuff, but I find that overwhelming, and I just don't reply to comments now because I can't give them energy. Like it takes energy to interact with people and thank them. So I feel like now things are just like kind of general, and it is hard to feel like you're being yourself.
It's a legitimate new responsibility in this era as an artist to do what you just described.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
And sometimes I talk to my psychologist about it. Like that was another thing that happened in the last year. I was like, I need a psychologist. Like I need to talk to someone about all these new things that are happening. And she's a bit older, and that's one of the things she doesn't quite understand is the Instagram side of it. I'm just like, and Instagram is so hard. And she's just like, but just get someone else to do it for you. And I'm like, but I can't because I want to be genuine. And
that's a new part of that's so fascinating to me. And the fact that you're even talking about a psychologist is a whole new aspect to artists sharing these days, which I think is so important and useful.
And again, from the internet, people being like, mental health, talking about mental health is important. Like all those conversations happen on the internet, and that's how I learn those things and other people learn them. It's just like, there's so much going on.
That's amazing. So back to your voice and your sound, and the fact that it sounds like you've worked in a few different genres now. As you have been sort of crafting this new era of your career with the guitar and just a handful of other musicians, does your voice ever get you into trouble with the industry in terms of the industry wanting to pigeonhole you?
Pigeonhole me, like as because of the things that I say, or?
When I say voice, I mean sort of the fact that you have a really big range and you can go really big, and they want to, you know, do they want you, for example, do they want to have you write a specific song that maybe you don't want to write, maybe about love or about something else?
Yeah, this is what we were talking about before. I think it will happen to me. It hasn't happened to me yet. Charlotte's my manager, and we have really tried to choose the people that we work with based on them letting me and letting us do exactly what we want to do, which has been good. It's a lot of work because we do a lot of things independently, but I haven't really had people be telling me what to write about. But at the same time, the record that I'm going to put out, I had written all the songs before I really even started entering the industry. So like it was always kind of a completed thing, and I'm a little bit worried about how I'm going to write the next one, which I want to start doing. But again, I feel like that stuff is actually quite private for me. Like I think that there are maybe bigger labels that breathe down people's neck about what to write about. I haven't found it so much, which I'm grateful for. But again, I hear the stories a lot, and I think it definitely could happen. I do get a little bit of like, you could write poppier music, and like I think my songwriting and my voice could definitely lend itself to styles of music that I don't connect with as much. Like, and I love pop music and I listen to it all the time, but I don't necessarily want to be writing like beats and really produced stuff, at least not right now. I think I probably will make a record like that down the track, but as you start working with people who want to, who have an invested interest in you and you making money, there has been a little bit of that, of like, you know, you could write a pop song, or you could write, which I'm open to, but I just kind of want to do it on my own terms.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we plug what you do have to listen to. So you're working on a new album called Salt, but there's no release date yet. Yeah. But there's the album that's already out in Australia that we're going to get in the States. Is that what you're referencing?
No, yeah, when I say the album, it's not out yet, but we've just put out a few singles from the album.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the process for that, so the ones that I've heard, sort of, they range from being something really intimate to being sort of more of a rocker.
Yeah.
Is that kind of be sort of representative of the entire album?
Yeah. the most rocky stuff on the album is probably the stuff that's released, and then the rest of it is the more intimate stuff, and that's what I have traditionally been good at. And then the last year or so has been me understanding rock more and like making bigger band noises and stuff. But I guess they felt like the strongest ones to release, like just a bit of a punch to the face or something. So we put out the rockier ones, but most of the album to me, like when I listen to it, it's quite intimate, and I sometimes skip over the rock ones because I'm like, I've heard this chorus too many times, like I just want to remember the feeling that I had when I was like sitting in my room and I had the candle lit and I just like played that really gentle songs, you know. So my favourite parts of the album are probably the more intimate.
Okay.
Parts.
Well, let's make sure we have time for you to play a song. If you want to grab your guitar and get ready. And while you're doing that, I'd like to know what is the deal with you and pasta? I'm kidding. No, but if you check out her stuff online, there's a lot of pasta conversations.
I really like pasta, and I wrote a song called Pasta. It's not the one I'm going to play, but we just put it out, and so it's become a little bit of a gimmick, which I don't regret, but it's what's happening online.
All right, I'll take us out, and then you can start. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having
and
me.
for those of you out there who are watching, you can catch Angie McMahon during South by on March 15th at St. David's Historic Sanctuary at 10:20 p.m. and on March 16th at midnight. She'll take the stage at the one and only Continental Club, which I love. I want to thank Angie for being here and thank you all out there for watching South by Southwest Live. We will be back in action tomorrow. Now get out there, enjoy the music, and take it away.
Thank you. This song is called Keeping Time. Now I'm keeping time, or at least I'm learning how to. I'm taking flight, or at least I'm just about to. And all the ways we can bruise are used to us, and all the things I've burnt out, learned their cost, and all there's cracks in me, all the cracks in me. I've been braced by the ignition, waiting for a command. I'm tired of your wishing and waiting. It's done me harm. Ooh, done me harm. I was sinking into a life like it was water, always juggling something I could not afford to. But I want someone who doesn't mind it when I stand. I want someone who's funny looking when they dance. I wanna dance with them. I wanna dance with them. I've been braced by the ignition, waiting for a command. Young girl, I'm tired of your wishing and waiting. It's done me harm. I want the time to pass, so I'm speeding down the road. Oh, I want the time to pass, so I can move on and swallow this
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, so good. And thank you so much for watching. Continue to watch southbysouthwest.com/live.